Welcome to Lizard Key. This is, I'm going to do a tour of our yard because I've been working on it for several years. And it's a lot of work, but I try to do most of it myself. And I had been introduced by a neighbor a few houses away to some plants and some different ways of doing things. And one was to cultivate plants from other plants, either by cuttings, and if they fail, which I have failed many times with some of this stuff, just keep trying, eventually you'll get it right. I try not to use a lot of fertilizer or pesticides of any kind. In fact, I very rarely do. I do have a few invasive plants that I may, if nothing else works, I'll resort to some sort of chemical to kill it. But for the most part, I try to dig it out when it's young enough. Also, mulch is, we live in South Florida and everything grows really well. So I found a way to, rather than buy a bag here or there at, let's say, Lowe's or Home Depot, you can get it locally through a thing called drop chip. I don't know if that's national, but here in South Florida, that's what you can do. Or if you have neighbors that have hired someone to clear, and they have a truckload of land clippings, they usually have to pay to have it dumped. So, and they love nothing more than to be able to provide the neighbors with plenty of mulch if that's the case. And that's what I've done here, and my neighbor was gracious enough to let me kind of use part of her yard as a place to settle. So from there I started, my front yard has been a lot of work in trying to get this to I guess trying to eliminate as much grass slowly and introduce more trees and shade. So one of the things, we're in South Florida, things seem to grow very well here, in the climate. But these here were started from seeds that were probably from bird droppings. I just found them in the yard and pulled them up, and they're called the Serum cherry plants, and they can be trees or bushes. And so I'm going to try to make a hedge out of them. I have some more growing out back from a larger tree that I started as well.
You also transplanted those palm trees, those coconuts, right? From
yeah, my
somewhere in the
neighbor
back
actually has coconuts. I have some as well, and they have a different variety. And they gave me some seedlings, and I planted them out front here. And they're growing pretty well. This is our driveway. We have all these nice, I think they're laurel oaks, versus these ones over here are live oaks. These were all here when we bought the house, and there's a difference between the two. The live oaks spread out more like an umbrella, and the laurel oaks tend to grow taller. And we've got this nice coverage from them now. So.
Like an oak hammock drive up the driveway.
These are Ricas. These Ricas were also just plants that came from my neighbors. And that whole side of the house right down here is all Eurekas that they started several years ago. When we bought the house, they were probably about, I would say about 8 feet tall. So they've grown tremendously. It's been 15 years. So I want to start this side over here with some privacy. Actually putting up the fence. So,
That sea oak you transplanted too, didn't you?
Sea oaks, no, those I did actually buy those. Some trees that had a disease that had to be cut down, so there's stumps in the yard that I just strategically placed a tree of some sort next to it, so there was run over it with his mower. Trying to keep that in mind. I started a bamboo from a cutting from one of my neighbors up the road. They were actually, I had to dig into the ground. It was a rather tough job to do, but we did it. Dig in and just kind of pull off a piece of the root. It's been maybe a couple of years now, and it's gotten pretty big. So it was pretty small when it started, maybe like this big. Most of these here I've got an invasive plant, which is I'm constantly trying to pull away. It's very vigorous. And this is a shell ginger. It's actually it's from Hawaii originally. How it got here, I don't know, but it has a really lovely, pretty flower when it blooms, and it looks like shells, seashells, like a whole clump of them. I don't have any in bloom right now. Bromeliads, these were all gifted to me from my neighbor. They grow well. They do well around trees. They make a nice hedging if you want that. My most recent project was this right here. I wanted to create a kind of a berm. Again, I want to do some pollinator plants, and I transplanted most of those plants there in the middle. They look a little yellow right now because they're just recovering, because I just did this like a week ago. And this is a plumbago. It has a nice pretty bluish flower on it. This is I don't even know the name of this one, and I'm kind of trying to figure that one out, but it has a real pretty purple flower on it, kind of like a buttercup look to it, or a violet. Here it is, right here. When it's opened up, it's real pretty. It just fell off. Oh. It's a pretty color. I want to attract the butterflies. That's what those are for. These are cuttings from those plants right over there. And they're succulents. They grow very well. I've had no problems with those whatsoever. They make a really nice ground cover, low hedge. I also like landscaping bricks. These were free. I got those on advertised online for free to just come and pick them up. So I got as many as I could, half of them. I did have to buy some, but it's always nice to have some things that are, free. You got to be ready to go and get it, though. Pollinators here. Hibiscus. Let's see, what else do I got here? This was a plant that when it blooms, the aroma is just so wonderful. It's called a sweet almond, and you can just brush it, and it gives off that sweet almondy smell. And cuttings as well. So. So I think we'll continue to the back, I guess. So, this has taken a few years to get my yard to look like this. Yeah, the plants over on that section were all put in probably about 10 years ago, and have grown pretty well. So they were nothing when I put them in. They were just really small. And they're feeling nicely. Again, I don't hardly ever fertilize. I don't use pesticides. try to utilize as much as I can from the yard itself.
Here.
Oh, that is a staghorn fern. Those were, my neighbor has a huge one hanging in her tree, and it fell and it broke in half, so she gave me some pieces to stick in my trees. So eventually they'll fill in. This is a loquat that I planted from seeds that dropped in the ground from another tree that I have out back. Our mango, which has produced well for us this year, has seedlings. I have an abundance of those. There's some just growing in and around the base of the tree that I probably need to pull up. I'm working on a herb garden slowly, and a vegetable garden probably next season, so I don't really have time for all that, because when we start doing our shows in the fall, I just can't devote it, my time and energy to that as well. But I'm hoping to turn this into an herb garden. It needs some TLC right now, but I've got mint and dill, thyme, and chives going. Some mint, and that smells good. I do have green onions. You can just come out here and chop the tops off. If you want the whole thing, you just pull it up and stick the bottom root back in the ground. That's how those got started. I tried unsuccessfully to do garlic. I need to do it again, I guess. I think I need to mulch a little more in here. It's a little dry. It gets full sun all day, which can be hard on these kind of plants. So, these were gifted from my daughter Sam, Royal Poinsettias. She's got a nice, beautiful tree. They have a beautiful red flower. It's very picturesque. You'll see them in a lot of paintings, and the highwayman paintings in particular. They have done a lot of those. And this is another sweet almond. I had gotten the one plant, actually had 3, and I split them up. It's doing well. And you can see these two. This one has grown twice its height this year. And that one is still getting established. I just transplanted it. So it's not growing as well. It's just getting its roots established right now. I have lots of lilies. They're always beautiful this time of year from April on. They'll drop their seeds all over the place, and they're dormant the rest of the year. Another loquat. Crepe myrtles. I want to make a row all the way around, and then I'm going to take these out, thin them out, and put them as another background border in here, and then put in some other plants behind it, so that they'll continue to kind of make a privacy fence in this area here.
All those coconuts over there I call that coconut mulch. I throw all those coconuts over there. They're from the coconut palm here. 2 coconut palms. Right now they're not producing any new ones, but usually there's masses of actually there are some. You look way up there. They're starting to come in. Coconuts there they are. So this is going to be producing. You get a lot of coconuts out of these 2 coconut palms. Sorry.
So again, I've mulched recently around the trees. I just constantly try to mulch, and whenever I can get a truck to come by and dump some in the back or the front somewhere, I'll take advantage of it. So And this is our little Tiki Bar.
This is the center island here. Over the years we've done a lot of tree cutting in there and trimming away. Just the circular driveway in the back.
I started growing some pineapples a few years ago. You can even buy one from the store, cut the top off and stick it right in the ground and it'll produce a new plant. I hadn't really paid much attention to them here, but I do have one growing in the back in this section. Usually when I don't know what to do with the plant, I'll just throw it in here and it'll either grow or not grow, but if it's hardy enough, I'll pay some attention to it. But this is my jasmine that I had for many years. It just finished blooming and the smell is wonderful. It needs a trimming, but I don't know, I kind of like it. and this is I guess you'd call it the back 40. This is an area that nobody really sees a whole lot, but this is where I find myself gravitating to quite frequently. I've spent a lot of time in the last year or two working on this area. And these were all cuttings. Again, they started simply from a few cuttings and then they expanded from there. I transplanted those. These are called Moringa Trees, cuttings as well. We started from it, and Moringa is really something we found out about is one of those, what do you call it?
Healthy. It's called the miracle tree in the islands in the Caribbean. Yeah. It's a common.
Every part
you
could
just take some of this and stick it in your mouth.
I cut these this one needs to be cut, I think, and dry the leaves, and then we make a powder out of it, and you can make smoothies with it or put it in your salads the way it is. These seed pods will produce more trees as well. It's like a miracle green, they call it, I suppose. I also have jalapeno peppers growing from seeds. I didn't think they would live because I haven't paid any attention to them, but this one seems to be doing really well. This one is getting some bugs in it. Otherwise it was doing well at one point. And eventually I'm going to, I have collected some pallets that I want to make a compost bin with those. And right now I've just been dumping it on the ground over here until then. This is an allspice tree I bought at a little plant show with my friend Adina, and it was just a little baby seedling. And the leaves you can use them in teas if you want. You break it up and it smells just like the allspice. I haven't yet had any. I had some blooms on it. And I was hoping to get some seeds, but I haven't yet, so maybe next year. And I've made myself a little mini pineapple grove, if you will, right here, and we've already enjoyed like 3 or 4 of them, and I'm ready to pick another one on the other side. I can smell it. It's so sweet. This is the Serum cherry, the bushes that I showed you in the front. The seeds from this tree I threw in the ground, and they're starting to grow right here. So when they get a little bigger, I'm going to transplant those and add to the hedge out front. And
that one looks good. That pineapple.
Yeah, that one's ready to pick. In fact, I'm going to do that right now.
These pineapples are delicious and super sweet.
This one, I can smell it when I walk by. Look at that.
Perfect.
Oh, it smells so good. Yeah. And this is a starfruit, carambola. And not had any fruit yet. It's doing well though. This is a red hibiscus. And you can make teas. I don't know if you've heard of a red zinger tea. You can see that in the grocery stores, and it's made from these leaves. The younger ones are nice and tender, and they make good tea or salad. You can put them in your salads as well. And banana trees. I started these. I bought these from Medina. Again, they were very small. And she told me to plant them in a circle, which I did. And not knowing any better, I didn't realize how big they would get. So we've gotten a few batches out of them. I'm still waiting for some of them to produce. This one over here has been hanging in there. I'm hoping I get to see them mature enough to eat. So sometimes they don't make it for one reason or another, if they get too little or too much water. But I recently mulched and fertilized, hoping to give it some more love. Have another batch right here.
Oh, bunny just went over. Missed it. There he is. Little bunny rabbit over there.
We have lots of bunnies.
Bunny break.
This, I believe it's a lemon. It came from it's a volunteer, I call it, from my mulch pile. Compost, that is, from my compost pile. Avocado, I'm hoping, we we had a really nice one when we first bought the house, and it got eaten up by a beetle and it died. They were the most delicious avocados.
They were.
They were so nice. We got spoiled over that. I hope this one works. This is a mango from a seedling from our other tree. And this is my passion fruit, passion vine. I had one flower on it and one fruit, but while we were away on vacation, my fruit over-ripened, so I just took the fruit and put it in a pot, and I'm hoping to maybe grow some more startings from it. These are all my started plants. Some arecas, mangoes. The jasmine, I started this from a cutting. These are gardenias from cuttings. Porterweed, which is a pollinator. I have a whole row of them over there we'll go by. Foxtail foxtail palms, which is, they can get really big, but they take a while to grow and mature. This is the end of our property, but I'm trying to make a privacy fence out back so you don't just looking at a bunch of weeds all the time. And this is a beauty berry. I got it from a campground.
Which one?
Right here.
Which campground, I mean?
I don't remember now. It's the one by Robert and Kathleen.
Oh, that's the Wakiva Springs State Park.
This is a curry tree from Medina's place. And this is it's called a pine cone ginger. It has a bloom, looks like a pine cone. You can squeeze it and you get like a soapy liquid from it, and you can actually wash your hair with it. It's supposed to be a natural cleanser. I don't know what these are. This is where I kind of just throw things in there and see if it grows, you know? It's like throwing.
Elephant ears.
Yeah,
What,
those.
is that the name they're called, or are they some kind
I
of?
believe so, yeah.
We always
These
call them
are
elephant ears.
called milkweeds. They just started growing wild. I don't know from what or where. Those are good pollinators. This is a Exoria. They have a pretty clumpy flower, and I think there's some on the other side. Those are cuttings. I need to cut them back. I need to prune. It's one thing I haven't done very well is prune. I'm always hesitant to do that, but the more I do it, the more I can see the benefits from doing it. The plants are much healthier and fuller afterwards. Got snow on the mountain. I've got pitcher. These all grew from cuttings. I'm just maybe 1 or 2 years. This is all filled in. That was kind of a nice thing to come back to and see.
Was that jacaranda? Was the name of this tree?
No, it's an air tree. It's not a jacaranda, but it's in that family.
Similar to the poinciana type tree.
Poinciana, jacarandas. These are my other bananas.
Oh yeah.
I haven't gotten the feeding and care on these down yet. But anybody with a garden knows it's all work in progress. This is a bush that I transplanted with the purple flowers out front. I actually took and trimmed this and stuck some cuttings in the ground, and they're already filling in. So, you know, I'd like to take these out and put some more out front. They have a beautiful, beautiful flower. There's one right here. I don't know if you can see it. See that? Mm-hmm. And if I prune this, it'll probably produce a lot more. This is the porterweed. The butterflies love this. And I started cuttings from this as well. And it comes back every year. I'm looking for annuals. I like to do the annuals more than, the perennials more than annuals. Coconut trees. These were all from my neighbors. And I had bamboo. These were cuttings. These are cuttings from cuttings. I actually started this row, I think it's been 2 years now, and they're now, the roots have established enough that they're starting to really grow. Like this one is filled in this year, most of this. This is all new growth within a month or two. Same with that one. And these are all, I transplanted them maybe a month ago. And it's doing okay. And these are the ones, last but not least, these were cuttings just like those. And they have just grown beyond my wildest expectations. I love it. Makes a really great privacy fence. And just whole backyard, if you walk through here, just looks like a natural garden to me, which is what I want. I'm not big on landscaping, so to speak. I just want natural gardens that you can just walk through and enjoy. So I think I've achieved that somewhat here. Those are those fire plants, I believe they're called. Elephant ears, tipicinas, a weed, crepe myrtle, isn't that pretty? Snow on the mountain, that's what they call this with the little white um, white leaves on the top. The new ones come out white, and as it grows, they'll just keep producing more. This is a white bird of paradise. I cut a piece off of the one we have by the pool and just stuck it out here. We're going to give it a new home. So this oak tree just grew out of nowhere. These are those purple piccochinas. This is the ipsorias. They have that pretty clump of flower. So my next project will be to start pruning and start working on the area around my studio and get it looking good. This is elderberry actually, and I didn't know that till one year. I saw these pretty flowers on it, and they were white, and then they started producing a berry, and I found out from my neighbor, Adina, that they are elderberries. And I managed to get a good, I foraged a good amount for one season, and then I haven't had them bloom again. But I think they need to be pruned. I don't really know. I haven't paid much attention to them. The only reason I've left them alone is just to let them fill in until I decide what to do with them next. So, but all in all, I'm I feel like I've made a lot of progress. It's taken a while.
I usually keep this area mowed back here. Most of the neighbors don't mess around back here, but it's kind of nice to have a little extra area where Tess can work on her plants and stuff.
So I pointed out that I had some loquats in the yard, and this is a loquat, and when it drops its seeds, there are seedlings everywhere growing. I've pulled them up, and that's where I was able to transplant them in other places. And these are all lilies. These are bromeliads. They have a real pretty flower on them. One blooming over here. A nice pink flower. These are cardboard plants. These are Christmas palms. Another loquat. Aloe plant.
There's a bunch of aloe there.
Yeah. Those were from Donna's. And lastly is around our pool area. I've got mostly florals, some ferns. Huge bird of paradise.
It's a big bird's paradise.
These corn plants, I don't know, I have a love-hate relationship with these, but when they bloom, they do have a really strong aroma, almost like a gardenia, really powerful. So they do produce a lot of a nice smell. Most of these were cuttings or plants that were given to me by someone. I got a few orchids in here. Bromeliad. This one, we had a deluge of rain and it got waterlogged when we were away, and I haven't been able to resurrect it. So I'm hoping it'll still come back, but I don't think so. This is my favorite orchid ever. And that was I call it Adina's Peach. So it never lets me down. This is a sage plant. I was thinking of starting an herb garden over here. Some seem to like it here and some don't. This is a wild lily. Sam gave me this, and maybe once a year for about 2 weeks it'll bloom the flower, and then it's just grass. Still got a tomato plant hanging in there.
Those are the desert rose, right?
Yeah, desert rose. Yep. And this
That's
is
a desert rose too.
Yep. This is a. I bought this at Christmas time.
Poinsettia.
Poinsettia had a really different kind of flower on it, and not your typical red one. It's sort of a red and white striped.
Yeah.
It was pretty nice. It's actually doing really well.
Yeah, maybe it'll bloom for Christmas.
Yeah. And the birds of paradise, elephant ears.
Pool shower.
And there you have it.
And that's the garden tour. That's the Lizard Key garden and yard tour.
We're going to go cut up a pineapple and have a tropical drink.
That sounds good.
Cheers.